Lads, how's things? So in this video I'm going to share a talk that I done a few weeks ago at the Hair Fest here in Sydney. And I think this is going to be a good one for any barbers out there that are maybe struggling to pull on new clients from the content that they actually put out there online. So this is just stuff that I've done over the last couple of years, or some things that I've learned and implemented, and it's worked for me. So like it's allowed me to come to the other side of the world and build a clientele a lot bigger than I had back home, and to be able to scale my prices a few times. And I honestly, there might be some value that you can get from it. It's the first time I actually ever done a talk like this as well, so definitely see a lot of ways that I could have improved on it. But again, that comes down to experience, and hopefully the next time around I get a chance to do something like that, it might be a bit better. But aye, let me know what you think of it. Hopefully you can get some value from it. And if you did, just leave me a comment below to see what you think. And thanks for watching. How's everybody feeling? We all good? So today we're going to be covering content that actually converts. When I say content that converts, I'm going to ask everybody here, what would you want content to actually convert onto? Staff and clients? Yeah? Yeah, nice. So clients. That's probably the biggest thing I think I would like to touch on today is content that actually converts on the new clients. I think too many people nowadays, they're making content to get famous. They're trying to push the wrong narrative. They're trying to get views, likes, followers, all this kind of stuff. But really, it's not the most important metric. What we want to be doing is trying to get people on their seat. It's good having 20, 30, 40,000 followers, but if that actually doesn't convert into somebody sitting in the chair, what's the point? So the first thing that I'm going to touch on today is a bit about mindset. And I think this is one of the most important things when it comes to actually making content. We're going to touch on what it was like years ago. So I like to try to put everything into perspective. And just imagine what it would have been like 30 or 40 years ago if you were a barber or a hairstylist and you were trying to get people onto your chair. What would they have done back then to get people onto your chair? How would you acquire new clients 30 or 40 years ago? Anybody have an answer? Yeah. Yeah, it would have been a lot different and different ways of advertising. And a lot of it would have been word of mouth as well too. Word of mouth and people referring you, and even just walking past the shop window as well too would be a different way. Fast forward 20 or 30 years, living in 2025, the opportunity that we have is just completely different. It's a completely different time, and we've all got a tool in our pocket now that we can advertise our own work and get people to come to us every single day for free. It's just a completely different opportunity that we have. And I think you have to just take a minute to be grateful for that as well too. Like, things aren't as hard anymore. That's the first thing I would think about when it comes to this, is just be grateful for the time that we actually live on. The next thing I want you to really think about, this, in my opinion, is the most important thing. It's the why behind we actually do what we do. So this is going to be different for every single person that sits here, or anybody that watches this. Everybody's why is going to be different. But I'm sure everybody in the crowd here has got family around them, maybe got children, people around them that they want to look after, care for. So if we can connect our content to our purpose, we're way more likely to actually going to follow through and show up for ourselves every single day. I think that's one of the most important things. The last one, you might question this. I like to call it the window theory. You're probably thinking, what am I talking about? But I think people's mindsets is completely wrong when it comes to the metrics of social media. So what I'm talking about here is some people nearly get disappointed if they post a reel and it gets 100 views, because they're comparing themselves to the next person who's getting 500,000 views, a million views, whatever it is. They're putting themselves down. So they nearly don't want to actually make the content then going forward again. But if I was to put it like this is one of the things that completely changed my mindset around content. Was if you done a really good haircut and you had 100 people walk past your shop window and look in and take a look at that haircut and you just done it, would that be a bad thing? No. 100 people looking at your haircut and it's good work, that's going to do brilliant things for your business. And it's the same with content as well too. That's 100 people looking at your work. You don't have to have 500,000 views, whatever. If that comes, brilliant. And it will come if you keep being consistent. Like the best way to think about it is just think about it like that. Every time you make a bit of content and it maybe doesn't go the way you think it should, it's still a good thing. And it's still evidence for everybody else that goes on your page. Look at all the work that I've done and look at the standard that I can produce every single time. I think that's one of the most important things to maybe take from this, is always understand that even if it doesn't perform the way you want, it's still a good thing. So touching on to the next topic now, is why I think Barber's content maybe doesn't convert and maybe just doesn't perform the way it could. With a few tweaks, I think it could be good. But the first thing I see wrong with people's content is they're targeting the wrong people. They're not actually targeting new clients. They're targeting other barbers. So one of the things that I think is wrong is we're making content that there's far too much information in. And if I'm thinking from client's perspective, what do I want to see? I want to see a good before and after. I want to see a bit of a journey. I don't want to see a step-by-step process because they don't know how to do it. They don't care about stuff like that. They just want to see a good haircut and they want to see a before and after. And I think that's one of the main things that's wrong. We're just not sure of who we actually should be looking at. And in this case, it's a new client, so we need to be making content that actually is specifically for them. The next thing I think is wrong and why it might not convert is that it's bad quality. And what I mean by that, I don't think that it's actual bad quality. I could take content with that camera on mine, it could still be bad quality. And what I mean by that is we need to have an eye, and this is something that develops over time, we need to have an eye for what good quality content is. And I think the first thing that comes to mind when I see bad quality content is you have to think again from a consumer's point of view. What are they actually looking for? What are they doing when they look at the phone? If I'm making a piece of content and that's making the viewer's eyes go up here, down there, it's not satisfying to watch. So we need to have the focal point locked in the middle of the screen as much as possible. And that's one thing that I think, in my terms, would be bad quality. So keep it nice and clean, and just remember that your eye will always develop over time. This might be something that's a bit confusing at the start, but over time, it'll develop and you'll get better at it. The last thing is no story. And I think as a barber, it's good because the full journey of somebody actually coming into our shop is a story in itself. And it's so easy to actually capture that if we've got a camera and a tripod set there ready to go. The full story of somebody actually coming into the shop is a full journey. So they're coming in, they might be looking a bit rough, they come in and sit in their seat, you give them the full service, and then they leave happy, hopefully. But if we can capture that, viewers love to see an actual story. And if we can put a story behind our work, then 9 times out of 10, they're actually going to stay to the end of the video. Whereas if we just post 1 or 2 clips of a haircut, it doesn't really paint a full picture. So if we can incorporate a bit of a story into our work, it's just going to be way better, and it's going to be way more engaging for people to actually watch. So now that we've actually touched on just a few points of why I think content might not convert, we're going to actually flip the switch now and tell you how I can maybe give some advice on how it actually could convert into new clients. So this is just a quick stat, and this is mad. Before we actually want to convert, this is where people's attention span is nowadays in social media. So we've got 1.73 seconds to capture somebody's attention in a reel, which is madness. A few years ago, you'd say you've got the attention span of a goldfish. Now we've got half of that. The first 3 seconds of a video is probably the most important. And you hear so many people talk about a hook. A hook is something that's going to actually capture the attention of a viewer. and keep them there for the very end of the video. Again, what I'm talking about, a story is a bit of a hook in itself. So if we get somebody coming in and sat in their seat, the viewer's actually going to want to watch that. Another good way is a text overlay. So we could say, is this the best hairstyle for men in summer 2025? Something so simple and overlay it over the very start of our video can capture people's attention even more. This, in my opinion, I think is the easiest way to actually make content. So as a barber, we want a process that's actually going to be easy. And one of the things, when it comes to making content, especially if we're doing half-an-hour appointments, we want something that's going to be quick as well. And this is the way I like to think about it: before action and after. So break it down into 3 points. And when it comes to making a reel something engaging, we want to get before. So again, that's going to be somebody coming in and sitting in their seat. The action is just going to be a few clips that's actually satisfying. So we need to think, what's the most satisfying part of a haircut? So if somebody comes in and sits in my seat, and we're maybe just doing the skin fade, what's the most satisfying part of that? It's going to be balding out the actual haircut. So we need to be thinking and breaking it down mentally in our head when somebody sits in their seat. It's going to be different every single time. But we need to break it down and think, right, what do I need to record? And if we can record 4 or 5 different pieces of really satisfying clips, that's going to lead us to a really good after then. So you've got a before, when somebody comes in, maybe a bit of an interaction between you and your client, talking to them beforehand. You've got a few satisfying clips, and then after, we're going to just get a few clips of maybe styling the client's hair and showing the showcase, the final result. In total, that's maybe 8 clips, and if you've done 2 seconds per clip, so what's 16 seconds? That's all you need out of a 30-minute haircut. I think, like, we confuse stuff so much nowadays, and we see people doing different things. This is what's helped me. This is what I've stuck to for a few years, and I can only talk from my own experience. This is how I think about things. And it's going to lead to the next point, which is the CTA. And anybody that hasn't heard of the CTA, basically it's just a call to action. So once somebody's actually watched your reel, we need to get them actually converted to being a client. And the best way to do that is not only in your captions at the bottom of your video, put your location, say the link in my bio of the book, just plug something in there that's going to get them to think, right, I need to book an appointment with this person now. They've seen your work, they've seen a pretty good quality. Now, if you don't put in the CTA, chances are they're just going to leave. They're just going to scroll past your work and they're not actually going to do what you want them to do. So we can do a CTA in the captions, or we can actually put it in the video itself too. People in general want to know what the next step is. So tell them to either book or tell them to give you a follow, watch your work, and just see what you do. So the next point is make it easy. We need to make it even more easy. So I'm a very simple person when it comes to hair. I don't get too complex when it actually comes to cutting hair. And I like to think of everything in the most simple form. Because I think if you actually stick to a simple form consistently, it works better. It's the same with a diet, it's the same with going to the gym. If you get something that's simple and you just keep at it consistently, you'll see good results. So ways that we can make it easy for ourselves. The first one I want to talk about is actually set the intention of videoing at least 1 haircut a day. And this is something that I've done. And don't just mentally say this to yourself. Write it down. It's the same with every single goal that you want to achieve. If you actually want to achieve it, write it down and you're 10 times more likely actually to do that. So set yourself a simple goal of doing 1 video a day. Say you've got 10 people in your seat. It's not going to be hard to do 1 video a day. This, I think, is overlooked. So what I mean by having a fixed tripod is, imagine this is my mirror in the shop. The best place to find a tripod is right beside the mirror. One of the biggest problems that I had over the years of experimenting with this kind of stuff is trying to actually make the content got in the way of me actually having a conversation with the client. And as a barber, that's the last thing that you want. You don't want people to be sat in your chair and you running about trying to get a tripod left, right, and centre. If you've got it in the most simple way, sat beside your mirror, and you literally just go over, tap record, tap pause, 8 times, 8 or 9 times a haircut, it's going to be so much more easy. And then it's not taken away from the client's actual experience and your chair as well too. Because we want to make content, but not at the expense of somebody that sat in their chair paying us money. So I think that's a really good tip. Don't overcomplicate things. Just have your tripod beside you and just tap, record, pause 2 times every single haircut, and that's all you need to do. This is a massive one, and I wish I could have given myself this advice when I was starting out a few years ago. So I would have recorded a lot of a haircut to get a video years ago. I would have recorded maybe the full thing. And that was so much content that I had, that I put effort in to get. And I used it once, and then that was it. I deleted it, and that was the end of it. If we can repurpose our videos, say if we just done what I was talking about, and we videoed one haircut and we broke it down into every single step that I talked about, we could get so much more than one single video from that. We could break that down into 2 or 3 videos going forward, and that's just going to make it far easier for us to actually post consistently. And the last thing I want to say is make it easy for your clients to book. So I think this is a massive problem that I see. Sometimes I'd be nosy and would go on to people's profiles just to see if I was one of their clients, how it would actually look to book an appointment with them. Sometimes you go onto people's profiles and they post very good content, but you don't know where they are. They haven't their location in their bio, they haven't got a booking link in their bio, you don't know what to do. And how confusing would that be if you're a client that's actually trying to book a haircut with you? So make it as easy as possible. Have your call to action in your videos, direct them to your page, and once they get to your page, make it easy for them to actually book an appointment with you. So now that we've covered all that, this is a part that I think makes us all unique, and this is how you can have your own touch on it. I think this is one of the most important things nowadays, to actually differentiate yourself from everybody else. And I think the best way to put about a personal brand on it is just be showing your own personality, especially through your stories, even through your reels. People buy from people. You don't just buy for the service that you do. If somebody doesn't agree with who you are as a person, they're not likely going to book with you. So sprinkle on about what you actually stand for and what you represent. And I think that'll attract the right people to you. This has been the single thing that's helped me the most over the last couple of years. It's having a bit of courage to put your own voice in things. And don't be afraid of your accent or where you're from. Put your own voice on it and people will resonate with it. And just be yourself. That's the best part of a personal brand, is actually being yourself. And just make it as relatable as you can. And that'll attract the right people onto your brand as well too. So again, it helps you attract the right clients for you. That's the whole point of a personal brand. So this is just quickly how this has helped me over the years. So this helped me secure a job when I first came to Sydney, probably one of the best jobs in Australia. And I'm so glad that I met with Susie when I came over here. But when I first started this, the main reason behind, before I came to Australia, I had no personal brand at all. I didn't really share my work. And I thought to myself, if I'm coming to Australia, how am I going to get a job in a shop that I can actually progress on? Because I was leaving back home and I had my clients back home and I was thinking, right, I want to go to Australia, but at the same time, I don't want to leave behind what I have and just go across there and take it easy. I actually want to progress in my career as well. So the best way for me to do that was just to share a bit about my work and actually attract the right shop. A shop that had the right values and was going the right direction. And thankfully it did work. But after maybe a year, it gave me the confidence to actually go self-employed as well. I think having the knowledge, which I just shared about content creation and being confident in myself to be able to bring in new clients, I thought, well, why not give it a go for myself? just to create my own system and my own lifestyle, and that was the main reason why I went self-employed. I was able to scale my prices up to $100 for some of my services, only falling to over 60,000. And the last one, I thought this was a good start. I had 118 new clients alone this year from the videos that I made. So that tells me that this stuff actually works. And that's the main point behind it. If you keep consistent with this kind of stuff, you will see so many people come under your chair as a result of it. And again, the last point that I want to make is keep being consistent. Like, you hear this all the time, but show up for yourself every day. Like, that's what it's about. This was a good quote to say. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to show up more than most people. Because most people don't show up. And if you show up for yourself, you'll be in that top percentage and you'll stand out. All this is about is getting eyeballs in your work. And the more that we can show up, the more people's going to see what we do. Represent yourself. So that was a lot of information to take. But if you didn't get any notes of that and you want to take some of the key points away from that, you can download that QR code or scan the QR code, and I can email some of the key points that we just talked over today. I think when you get so much information like that, it is hard to actually take in all the knowledge. So if you download this and actually read through things later on, it'll sink in a bit better and make more sense to you. So thanks everybody for listening. And thanks to Ari and Sam for actually letting me do something of these opportunities. So I appreciate everybody listening. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We're just going to have a little short break, everyone. So many valuable points that are just like,